Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in, much appreciated. And today I'm going to give you guys some really good juice on Wacky rigs. I got one, actually there's two main, well there's two, but there's actually one really main secret that I'm going to share with you guys today that I really think is going to help you guys out a lot. So we'll get into that here in a second. But first, hey, I just wanted to really, give a shout out and give a big thanks to everybody that's been supporting the channel. Whether you're a member of the channel or just, you're just watching the videos, either one, I appreciate it. And I really appreciate the kind comments that, I've been getting on the videos. It seems like, there's been a lot of regulars that watch the videos, and I sort of became, real familiar with your guys' names. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the kind words. And, and I appreciate you guys also having my back against some of those goobers that are out there that just like to, hate on everybody. So it sort of seems like I got a pretty good army behind me that has my back against those guys. So much appreciated with that. So anyway, today I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a seminar on summertime wacky rigging. And I think a lot of people don't equate the wacky rig with summertime fishing. For the most part, they see it as some type of a springtime deal, right around when the fish are spawning, right after they spawn. Everybody knows a wacky rig's really effective there. But a wacky rig is really good for, in my opinion, anytime that water temperature is between 55 to 55 degrees. In other words, when it first hits 55 and until it drops down below 55, which actually takes you from the spring into the late fall a lot of times. But sort of like a jerkbait a little bit. A lot of guys put the jerkbait down after the pre-spawn and it'll catch fish all year round. But specifically, I want to talk about wacky rigging here a little bit. First of all, when you're talking about wacky rigging, there's a couple different parts of the country that I know when I talk about these tips a lot, guys, it seems like I'm geared in towards like just the mid part of the country, the impoundments, man-made impoundments that everybody fishes, the typical man-made impoundments, whether it be a lake like Lake Hartwell in South Carolina or, Grand Lake in Oklahoma or something like that. But you have three different tiers in this country. You got the northern tiers states, predominant smallmouth, some largemouth population, and then you've got the central part of the country where you have the mixed species, largemouth spotted and smallmouth bass, and then you got down south more in the whether it be grass fisheries, tidal fisheries, that type of stuff that fish a little bit differently. And I'm gonna do some stuff area specific, but for this particular one, I'm talking more about the wacky rigging just in the man-made lakes. Wacky rigs are outstanding right now and all summer long up north. If you're fishing a lake that's got smallmouth in it, a clear water lake, that's sort of a different environment and they bite them really good. And people fish them up there a lot. But when you're talking about for the mid part of the country, there's just not many people fish them. So first thing I want to tell you guys about is when you're thinking about wacky rigs in the summertime, you have to think about fishing them in different places than what you do in the springtime of the year. In the springtime of the year, you're pretty much focused on fishing them in and around those flatter spawning type banks. A lot of people, anywhere where you feel the bass are getting ready to spawn or they're spawning or they're just garden fry or that type of stuff. So for the most part, I think a lot of people, their experience with a wacky rig is basically just casting it down banks in towards the back end of coves, which is a great way to catch them in the springtime of the year. But when you talk about a wacky rig in the summertime of the year, you have to focus more on targets, more on hard targets. So the things that I'm focusing on, and the big tip, not the big tip, but the first tip I want to give you is think about fishing that wacky rig anywhere that you would pitch and flip a bait, or anywhere you'd fish like a weedless Texas rig type worm. This can be around laydowns, it can be around stumps, it can be around docks. Docks are great for that type of stuff, anywhere where you're normally pitching and flipping. And the thing that you're doing with the wacky rig is you're throwing it into those same type of areas, wacky rig the same way, and with the open hook. And guys, this is surprisingly weedless. If you throw this bait next to a dock or into a lay down like that, you're going to get hung up once in a while, but it comes through much better than what you think it would. And if you're in something that's really snaggy, places that have limbs in it, that's when I may use some type of a weed guard on the hook. But if I'm fishing any type of a horizontal object, like a stump or like a cypress tree or any type of a vertical tree or boat dock piling, anything like that, I'm fishing at just the open hook, straight shank, Gamakatsu 2/0 G finesse hook on there. That's my go-to hook on there. So that's the first tip I want to give you, is think in terms of throwing that wacky rig where you're normally going to be pitching and flipping, and don't worry about getting hung up, because even if you do get hung up, the bites that you get is going to offset that. Okay, but here's the big tip. I'm going to give you the big summertime secret for wacky rigging, and why it works in the summer, and why a lot of people don't catch fish on a wacky rig in the summer. When people are wacky rigging, probably 90% of the people out there think in terms of green pumpkins and watermelons, maybe a black and blue, something like that. That's pretty much the standard colors, and they work good, during the springtime of the year. But guys, I'm telling you right now, the big secret for the summertime wacky rigging is using bright colors. Something like this, some type of a bright shad looking color. It's got some type of a white or a pearl on the belly. It can be chartreuse, whatever that you have out there that's bright and stands out like that. This right here is the big key, because in the summertime of the year, I really feel that these fish are focused more on shad. And when you're using the bright colored, baits like that, shad and perch both too. If you use like the whites, that can resemble a shad more. If you use like the chartreuses, oranges, those, like the orange swirl, that type of stuff, maybe it resembles a perch. But guys, this is the number one key that I haven't talked about much, is wacky worming in the middle of the summer. Use these bright colors. Stay away from your green pumpkins and your watermelons and your black and blues. It's going to make a huge difference in the strike deal. I'm going to tell you guys, one of the best ways to catch them in the summertime on a wacky rig is get you one of these bright wacky rigs like this. If you've got a lake that has floating boat docks in it, not necessarily pier docks, even though they'll hit them on pier docks, but if you've got a lake that has floating docks, I don't care if the docks are in 5 foot of water or 50 foot of water, you can take these bright colored wacky rigs like that and skip them up in the shade and underneath those docks and the floating docks in the summer and absolutely whack them on there. But this is the setup that I throw, around my brush piles. I throw it around, any type of vertical timber, docks, that type of stuff. Just a really good deal. Same thing, 2/0 Gamakatsu G finesse hook on there, straight shank. Hook it straight through the middle like this. Another advice I'll give you guys, if you saw my wacky rig tip before, take all your O-rings that you got and just throw them in the trash. You don't need them. I'm telling you guys right now, hooking this bait through the middle like this, you get a better presentation on that. It falls more naturally. You're going to hook a lot more fish. Bait just looks better in the water like that, and you're not going to lose that many of them. It's if you're thinking in terms of losing baits, you're going to lose just a handful more when you fish it like this, but you're going to land a lot more fish and you're going to get more bites. So that's another one of those big myths in fishing, is that you have to use those O-rings. You don't need them, guys. Just get rid of them. Just hook them straight through the middle. I'm telling you, it's a lot better like that. A lot of pros fish it like this too, through the middle, and don't talk about it either. So anyway, that's the tips, guys. That's the two main things with the summertime wacky rig. Throw them in the heavy cover. Don't worry about getting hung up. Use bright colors with it, and I promise you guys it'll start getting some more fish for you. Another thing about this is, in the summertime, is don't be afraid to throw them in dirty water. If you have water visibility that's like 12 inches, it's dirty water, they'll still bite it and that type of stuff. I'm going to guess the water clarity that I like for it the best is right around that 18 inches to 2 foot range. It seems like that's really the key depth, the key visibility for me. In that 1.5 to 2 foot zone, it works really good. Again, I'm using it spinning rod all the time, straight fluorocarbon. I'm usually using 8 to 10 pound test Seagar and Vizex line, depending upon the cover I'm fishing. I use 10 quite a bit in the summer because I'm usually making shorter casts with it around cover. So I like the 10 pound test, straight fluorocarbon with that. And you know, like I said, one other thing, you know, as far as the hook goes on there, if you are getting hooked up, and you will get snagged up a little bit if you're fishing it around, like I said, laydowns that have limbs on it, then you might want to, you know, consider going to a weedless hook, even though I don't like doing that. Try to stay with the straight shank open hook if you can. So give it a try. Let me know what you guys think. You know, next time you're out on a lake where you think you need to be pitching, flipping a jig, put that Wacky rig on, get you a bright one, see what happens there. I think you'll be surprised. So we'll talk to y'all later. See you.